All right, guys, good morning. Hopefully, you find some time today to get out and enjoy this little surprise snow that we picked up a few inches. Hopefully, you can get your stuff done and then get outside. As far as what you need to do for science today, we are going to talk about pedigrees. So, the big thing here is you had this video last night. It was this Amoeba's Sisters video on pedigrees last night. If you didn't watch this, you need to watch this today. The plan today was for me to go through the pedigrees with you, to go through Harry Potter pedigree, but because that's not going to happen now, you need to make sure that you watch this video. It is extremely, extremely important in terms of helping you understand what's going on to watch this Amoeba Sisters video right here. Now, after you've watched that, you can shift down to the Behringer Harry Potter pedigree. That is what we are going to be working on for today. Now, when you find that document right here, it'll look something like this. And there's some reading to do here because it'll walk you through what these pedigrees look like, what the different symbols mean, different things like that. I'm going to go through some of those very quickly just so that you can see it. It's all written here. It's very easy to read and understand, but I'm going to make sure that I show you on this right here. So a sample pedigree, guys, will look something like this. And I think it's first off important to show you that squares like this represent males. And that's why I put the male right above it. And circles over here represent females. Now you'll notice there's a couple of different types of lines here. We have this line that goes in between the two, which represents mating. And this line that comes down that represents that this is the next generation, these are their children. Okay, now notice that the line goes up above these two because they're siblings. So this would be like a brother and a sister. So again, we've got male, female, they married, and so therefore they have had children and their children are male and female down here. Now, you'll also notice that the son got married, female over here, and then they also had children, okay? So a couple of other things that I want to point out. The shading in these represents genes and represents alleles, okay? And we use these pedigrees to figure out the different genes that are going through family history. And so the first thing that I'll point out is when you have a totally shaded one, like we see here, what this is going to mean is that this is going to be homozygous recessive, meaning both alleles are recessive, okay? We also see that when we're filling these things out that the bottom right one, that bottom square down here, this is also homozygous recessive because it's totally shaded in. Now, as we go up here, we can see that the mom is going to be heterozygous, big E, little e, and the dad is going to be heterozygous, big E, little e. One, because the block is left unshaded, but also because we know that it has to be big E, little e, and not big E, because down here, they both have to give a little e to this child right here. Now, this person, the daughter, we don't know what she is. She could be big E, or she could be big E, little e. You have to list both options. She could have gotten the big E from mom and the big E from dad, or she could have gotten the big E from mom and the little e from dad. Okay, you know how the Punnett squares work. Both are options, so we have to list both. I want to make a point here. In your pedigrees, when you're working on this, technically when you're representing big E, little e, you should shade half of the circle or the square. Okay, I'm going to say that again. When you have big E, little e, when you're heterozygous, you should shade half of the object. Okay, now the next thing that I want to point out is that the wife of their son is also going to be big E, little e, because again, we look at one of their offspring has two little e's, therefore, you get one E from mom, one E from dad. In order to get two little e's with this offspring, they would have had to have gotten a little e from mom. These ones down here, of course, they're unshaded, so they're definitely going to have a dominant. They get that from mom, but they have to have this little e They have to have this little e because that's all that dad could give. So there's no other options for those squares and circles down on the bottom. Now, that was quick, maybe a little confusing. I think if you read this, it'll make a little bit more sense. In this first section down here, all you're kind of doing when you look at this right here is determining the relationship. So when we look at here, it says, what's the relationship between 1 and 5? Okay, well, 1 right here, circle, okay? 5 right here, we know that this is mating. This down here is offspring. So 1 and 5, that's male. So we've got female, male, 2 generations. We're talking about a mother and a son. If we do another one, let's do this one right here. If we're talking about 1 and 2, what we're talking about is this relationship, circle, circle female, square male. So we're talking about a mating relationship. This would be husband and wife. Okay. You're going to have to fill out the rest of these. Some of them are a little challenging. If you get confused, we'll go through it tomorrow. Now, as you go down here to the Harry Potter part, you're going to see that I point out a couple of additional things. So magical ability is recessive. Okay. So a person without any magical abilities is known as a muggle. So magic versus muggle. Magic is obviously they have magic abilities. They're going to be a witch or wizard. Non-magical is called a muggle. So muggle is going to be dominant. So you have a female muggle, left completely blank. Male muggle, left completely blank. The only time you're going to have a witch or a wizard if it's homozygous recessive, 2 recessive alleles, both filled in. You've got this heterozygous situation, which you have one and the other. So you are going to go through the various families of Harry Potter, and you are going to read the scenario, come up with their genotypes, and then draw me a pedigree for each of these families. So the first one is the Weasleys. So you would give me the genotypes for the Weasleys, because you know that they are witches and wizards. And you would read what the genotypes for all of their children, and draw a pedigree to represent that. You do the same thing with the Hermione Granger's family down here. It gets a little bit more complicated with her. She's a witch, but her parents are both muggles. So you got to think about that situation. Give me the same pedigree. And then finally, and you're going to have to add a paper on squid for this one. You're going to have to add a page on squid or find some way to take a picture of this one. But this is the Harry Potter version of it. So this one is a little bit complicated. So I want you to go slow and look at it, and it's going to be 2 families kind of put together for a challenging one on this one. Okay, if you're struggling with this, come in and see me during some of my office hours. If you're confused at when my office hours are, if you go up here to my Snow Day Instructions, it's the very top module, it says that I'll be in my Google Meet from 11:30 until 12, and then from 2 until 2:30. So I'll be in there ready to help in case anybody is super confused. If you would like a super big challenge, this is only if you really want to do something, if you're really into Harry Potter, something like that, you know that all 3 of these families by the end of the 7th book eventually become connected. And so if you really wanted to make a big pedigree, you could do a pedigree that encompasses all 3 of these families into one. Okay. The only way you would know how to do that is if you have some sort of background on the Harry Potter series. So if you're looking for a challenge and you like Harry Potter, go ahead and do that. Guys, if you need help, again, here's my times, 11:30 to noon, and then 2 to 2:30. If you're confused, come in, get help. Let me help you with these pedigrees. Let me make sure that you're not confused. Tomorrow we will go over this, a couple of reminders, and then tomorrow is Wednesday, so tomorrow we'll go over this. We'll probably start the study guide. Thursday we'll review, and then Friday we will be taking genetics test number 1. So be ready for that. Guys, come and see me if you need help, and have a nice day.